time for another beginner series project. The vote was kind of split, but the first ones that came in were for the bifold wallet with the stash pocket. So I have the pattern here. I revised this pattern from what it was. So this is my third time making this video, and just, you know, because things just didn't work right, and I figured out why. So what I did is, you'll see when you download the pattern, you'll be able to see it. There's a dotted line here. You can cut that dotted line, and that'll leave you a 1/4 of an inch overhang, so that you can use that as a trim allowance. You can trim that off, and it'll make burnishing and that edge finishing and stuff a lot easier, because everything will be nice and even. I tried a few other methods to get everything to work out, but it didn't work that way, so I went with this. So this is the first time making it for me, basically, and I'll show you how to use that trim allowance. And first I got to get this on some cardboard so I can make it. I'll be back in a minute. Want to rough cut some stuff here. Alright, there's all my pieces of my pattern all cut out. The outer body and the inner body are not the same. The inner body, if you can see it there, is about 1/2 inch shorter than the outer body, and that's to facilitate folding so that the wallet folds better. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to move over to my other table back here and get everything traced out. One of the first things you got to do when you're looking at your leather, this is the back. It's very nice. I like it. It's not real fuzzy, so I'm not even going to have to finish it. But on the outside, this is it's a fairly rough texture to it. It's not a textured leather, but it's not smooth like some are. And I got to notice that there's a mark from a clamp during the tanning process. So this is the very edge of the leather. I want to stay away from that a little bit and make sure I don't get that in my pattern. I need something over here. I'll help support the end of this. There we go. So I'm going to make sure I can get my outer piece in here, because that's the longest. That fits just fine. Yep, it's beyond that mark. If you need to, put a weight on your pattern so that it doesn't move. I don't have to mark these. I know what they're going to be. So you do need to pay attention. Sometimes there's extra directions on the piece that you're cutting. these two pockets, you need to flip it for the second pocket. So you do one this way, flip it over and do another one, so that you have a right and a left. And that is on the pattern piece. If you look at this front piece, there's a line down towards the bottom. That is not a cut line or an overage, that is a stitch line. And it lines up with another line on the stash pocket. So that's just it's a stitch line. Don't cut that. You'll wind up with not enough pocket. Now I'm just going to cut this out. We'll be off to the races. That's all cut out. We'll get over on the other bench, show you what else we need to do, start getting things ready to roll here. So all my pieces are laid out. I don't need these two pieces right away, so I'm going to go ahead and set them off to the side. I'm going to work with one of these at a time, and we'll go from there. I want to first burnish the tops of them, so I'm going to slide these out of my way, and I'm going to go ahead, take a Bowden number 3. So I want to put my mark on these. I want to do it now as opposed to after things are assembled, because it'll just work a little better. Came out pretty good. That's just simple FatMan Leather, Waseca, Minnesota. Just so people know where I'm at. That one says made in USA. American made. This is an imported leather. I think it's imported from Mexico. Not sure, but that's what it is. American veg tan leather gets pretty pricey for projects that this is probably never going to get sold. So when I go to line up on my back, well, let's do this first. We need to skive a little on here, so we're introducing a new tool. This is a safety skiver. This is the one I prefer to use. It's just easier for me. I do use the Japanese skiving knife as well, but for this, it just seems to work better for me to use this tool. So it's down to about half the thickness that it originally was. And that's all there is to it. Simple, skive the edges down. Just down there, it just makes it so that it will not, I don't want to say not be so bulky, because it's going to be bulky regardless. It just makes it a little less bulky. I mean, you're going to have cards there anyway. Just like that. So it's just down to about half the thickness that it originally was. This is a 3 to 4 ounce. Probably 3.5 to 4 most. And that part is set. It is 5 o'clock right now. I need to take a break and go see my wife's classroom. She's got a new classroom this year, so I'm gonna go check it out. I'm going to get the tops of these burnished, just the top, and I want to do that now as opposed to having to wait, because once you got it assembled, you're not getting it done. And then I'm going to color at night. This is just water in a little cup. You can use a dauber to apply it if you want to. I'm just using my finger. Usually I'll grab a piece of just plain canvas that I get from Hobby Lobby or wherever. This is just a piece of linen material, natural. You can use an old cut up pair of blue jeans if you want to. Toconol or gum tragacanth, if you get along off of the edge there, can stain. It can stain the leather, even if you're using an oil finish. The oil is gonna penetrate through the stain more than like a dye. If you use a dye, it will not, for some reason it won't go through it. You'll see the mark. And I'm going to go and I'm going to give these a light sanding. The nice part about water is it dries pretty fast. So I'm going to go back. I'm just going to sand these a little bit. I've got some, I think it's 600 grit. It's pretty worn. Here's what that edge comes out like. I think that's pretty good. Not going to do anything else with it. I may take some Toconol on the back side here. Just what it does is it helps whatever fibers lay down. So I will probably do that just for the like 1/2 inch at the top. You don't want to watch me doing this for an hour. Won't be that long. Well, here, I'll show you the Toconol thing. Again, you want to be careful not to get it on the front side of your leather. This is only on the back. And you can certainly use Toconol on your edges. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying be careful with it. I love this tool. It's one of the One of my favorite tools because it can do so much. That's all I mean. Just a little bit there. It just helps those fibers there lay down. So this tool too has some grooves up here, and if you grab the right one, you can use it to burnish. And that's what you come out with. So it's a pretty universal tool. I really like using it because it just does such a nice job. Once you figure out everything you can do with it, it's probably the handiest tool that I've got next to my snap knife, because I cut everything with that snap knife. Well, that's all of them. Just gonna keep that up there. I am going to now oil these, oil everything, and leave it sit. It's done. I'm done with it for the day. I just use neat's foot oil, 100% pure Phoebings. A little Bifold sweatshirt. That's what I use for an applicator. When you first put it on, it's going to look very uneven. And that's okay, it will even out when it dries. After it soaks in, I guess. And I am pretty liberal with my application. I think it's soaking in really fast, so I'm going to go ahead and give these another coat, another slathering of oil, and then we'll see you tomorrow. Alright, I'm back. A new day. Well, it's kind of an old day because I went and had lunch with a buddy of mine and we're good. So each of these pieces is going to get a set of pockets. Now, if we look here at our pattern, there's a 1/4 of an inch extra on the bottom. There's also a stitch line marked there. And if you want to, you can mark that stitch line on your leather quite easily. It is not set in stone though. This will be inside of everything, so you can just simply poke through your pattern right into your leather, and that'll mark it there. You can do the same to your pocket. Just line the pocket back up, and you can mark your stitch line exactly the same way. And then you can just connect the lines with a ruler, which is usually the easiest way to find, I've found. So just kind of drew a line there, and that will line up with this line, or should. I don't generally go by anything like that. I don't trust it. Sometimes when you cut them, they kind of come out a little funny. So what I do is I'll grab some of my little clips, and I'll line up the bottoms, because we've got that 1/4 of an inch extra on the bottom of both the pocket and the stash part. So I'll line that up. We've also got a 1/4 of an inch extra on the edges of all these pieces, so now this pocket, I'm going to slip it in there. Bring it down so that it touches the top of the pocket. And then it fits. You want just these T's. This T part should rest right at the top of that pocket. Just as simple as that. And we're going to remove this pocket. And I can look, and my stitch line is off, which is fine. I'm not going to complain about that. There are any number of reasons that could be. It's just not that important. And I'm going to go ahead. These are still an A-scare chisel. This is just, it's a French. It's a French chisel as opposed to a diamond chisel. And I just really like this one a lot. It's a 0.385 millimeter spacing. You can glue this down on the bottom too if you want to. I rarely do. And I like to just hang one off the end, even though this one's kind of spaced kind of far. I like to hang that one off the end. It just lets me get it bound up good. With the natural color, I think I want to use a brown thread. Just seems to look a little better that way. So this is just an inexpensive thread that I've been getting this on Amazon, but the seller that I was buying it through is no longer selling it. So I needed to find someone else, and I haven't. So I went to Maine. I have been switching everything over to Maine thread. Good US company. I believe Tiger thread is German made. And I don't know if Maine thread actually makes their thread or if they buy it. I suspect they make some and buy some. At this point too, I could take my clips off. I don't really need them anymore. And I don't usually glue this pocket down on the inside. Now I'm not going to do a double binding stitch, I'm just going to do a single. On this pocket, when I go to finish it, I'm just going to go back one hole. Now this stitch, the only way you'll ever see this stitch line is inside the wallet. So you can end this, usually will end one on each side. Remember, you only need about 1/8 of an inch there. You don't need a big glob sitting there. Once you burn it and melt it off, it's just a little tiny speck. So I'm going to tap this line down. And then we're going to need a little glue, but I want to hold this pocket here. I want to come, let's zoom that in a little. I want to come just under this edge and make a mark on both sides. So you can see there's just a little mark here. Little one on the other side. That's how far up I need to glue. And to put this pocket in, we're going to glue it. Now I'm going to go up a little higher on this bottom because we're going to trim 1/4 of an inch off of that. So I want to make sure I'm above that 1/4 inch mark. Same on the sides here. Corners here are your tabs. Make sure you get some glue on them. Leave that sit. Same thing with this pocket. We want to go and make sure we're beyond that 1/4 of an inch. You don't need a lot. 3/8 is plenty. It should be about what I'm doing here. Before it's super dry, I want to start sticking it down. I'm just lining up my bottom. You know, leather will stretch a little bit. If you need to stretch it a little, that's fine. And there we go. I want to trim this side and down here. This should measure about 4.5 inches, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, just about. So it should, or finished, should measure about 4 inches. Now I've got that straight, and I'm reasonably certain that it's straight. Grab your knife. And I'm not trying to cut it all in one pass. That gives us a really, oop, there are you, nice clean edge to work with. So let's zoom this back out a bit. Got my wing dividers, should be about 1/8 of an inch. And remember, our bottom 1/4 inch is getting cut off, so you don't need to go all the way down. And that will get cut off when we mount it to this piece, the inner body. So all I need to stitch is this. Let's go ahead and measure up. I don't want to run my stitch line, this stitch line, all the way down. So I want to be at probably about 3/8 of an inch. I'm just going to make a mark here, because I don't want my holes to go past that. And that'll keep me in the ballpark. Punch mat back out. First one's gonna go, how'd that get wet? Oh no! I spilled my burnishing water on my stuff, on my pieces. What happens when you try to work on too small an area? You gotta get this other bench cleaned off. Maybe that's what I'll do here when I get this done. So I want the first one to hang off. And I'm just kind of going to mark a little. I want to make sure one tooth is going to go right between the, right in that split, right between the pockets there. And it will. So go ahead, punch that one right now. I'm just going to run down now to about where I made that mark. Perfect. If you want to, you can stitch this all the way to the top. That's fine. It's going to get a stitch line across the top anyway. Up here in the top, I'm going to go in that first hole and I'm going to do that double binding stitch there. So it's good and strong. You'll have cards going in and out of there. It is a higher stress area. And we'll come back down. And we'll just stitch as usual. So now I'm down to the end. A point of contention with some other crafters is that you have to backstitch 3 to whatever it is. I'm going to take this needle and I'm going to go back 1. Bring this one back up through the same hole. Snug it up, and I want these to end on the inside. I'm just going to go one more with that needle, and that's all the farther I backstitch. I've never had one come apart. Anybody that has, I want to know about it, but until I hear about someone having that happen, I'm not going to do it. Tap that stitch line down. Get rid of my punching mat for the time being. Since I've already made one mess, got these wet. Now I want to burnish this edge because we're not going to be able to do that later. So I'm going to go ahead and... Where did I put my beveler? There it is. So again, just my Odin number 3. So I come on this part, I just come down and right under that edge and I cut off. On the back side, I just need to take up a little bit of that space. That looks plenty fine to me. Now if you want to, at this point, you can sand a little. It doesn't hurt. Just really smooths things up a little bit. I don't usually sand until I have my first burnish done though. Now I need my water. And I'm going to let that sit for a couple of minutes. I'm going to tokenol the back of it. Just a little bit there like I did on the last ones. And it's the same reasoning, just to kind of hold that part down. Makes it a little more durable on the inside edge there. I'll let that sit and dry for a few minutes, then I'll sand it, and we'll go on. This little part up here is always a little more demanding, I guess. There we go. That's a pretty decent edge. I'll let it sit here for a little bit more and then I'll decide if I want to do a little more. But till then. Alright. So now I've got to take 1/4 of an inch off of this side so that everything will line up correctly. Or at least mark it. You may not be able to see that real well, but it's marked. Remember which side you beveled on here, because that's going to be the top. I want to line that up right with that edge. And I'm using the top. And you can see there's an edge that's not quite straight. I'm not going to change anything right now. Just make sure that I'm all even at the top. Mark along the bottom. And I need to go right under this edge again and make a mark here. So I know where I can glue to. So I'm going to glue down the side. finish this off. And we're going to glue down 3 sides of this. I did not mark the top, my bad. So I'm going to stay away from that very edge. Again, I'm going to make sure that my top is my top. So it goes this way. Always make sure you got good lighting. This square is clean. Looks pretty good now. So we've just got these 3 sides are glued now. And tapping down that line isn't 100% necessary. I like to do it, but you certainly don't have to. So this top edge is all that we're going to stitch right now, and I recommend having that as straight as you can get it. Let me just take a actually we can trim the rest of that too, can't we? So trim this. Go slow when you're trimming this. It's not a race. Make sure you're holding your blade perpendicular to your leather. And now I've got 3 perfect edges. I can mark this stitch line if I like. And I can do the bottom one too. I don't need to right now. This is the only place I can stitch. I'm going to start in the corner. Work my way down. It's pretty easy to fudge just a little when you come off here. So that's my intent here, is to be able to fudge there as opposed to anywhere else. And that worked out very nice. So let's get that stitched. I want to end down here, so that way it'll be a little more concealed. So I'm going to start here. Again, I'm going to do that double binding stitch. I'll go ahead and stitch the rest of this off camera because you've seen me do it before.